DRS kicked off the season in Bahrain. Due to a technical issue in the AlphaTauri garage, SwantonBomb was unable to race. Smug took the victory medal, closely followed by MK5, who throughout the season ahead had to settle for second, and King Kong finished off the podium. Joker struggled during the first race, and this would unfortunately be a continuation of his season. Batman was the leading Chrome drivers and showed he had what it took to challenge for the Chrome title. After race 1, Williams Racing was sitting top of the table with Alpine F1 team and Scuderia Ferrari second and third, respectively.
Race 2 was at Silverstone, with the majority of the grid wanting to win their home Grand Prix. Everyone made sure they had made the most practice. SwantonBomb and Joker were battling for provisional P1 after the first pit stop. A mistimed brake and a wheel on the grass led to a collision at Stowe, which resulted in a P5 and P6. This gave Matteo the Frenchman an unchallenged victory, showing he had the pace and the ability to run his tires the distance. Smug would take P2, and once again MK5 would be behind the Williams racing car. MK5 would later have his revenge. Levi would take control of the Chrome tier, ahead of Batman, and never look back after this race. 50 Gent showed his struggles with getting to grips with the F122 cars. Williams Racing extended their constructors' lead.
Round 3, we drove across the sea to Paul Richard, which saw the previous winner Matteo miss his home Grand Prix. AlphaTauri continued to have issues with the car, and this saw SwantonBomb miss another race, but this was to be the last. We were joined by TMK and ITZ Finn. TMK did not have a great debut by his standards. King Kong drove an incredible race and stormed to his first and only victory of the season. Once again, MK5 had to deal with being second. This was becoming a regular thing, but he was always a thorn in the leader side. Levi Hughes took his first podium of the season. This was the first of many to come. 50 Gent and Smug crossed the line side by side, but 50 stayed ahead by 0.01 seconds. This was the only race of the season where no one retired. Williams Racing was still top, but Mercedes AMG Petronas were creeping up, and Alpine F1 team couldn't be counted out.
Austria was a mixed weather race, sunny with rain coming down within the last 6 laps of the race. The majority of the grid came in for inters or wet tires, but the Scuderia AlphaTauri had other ideas. They held their nerve and stayed out on their slicks, and this took their strongest finish for now. With the P1 and P3 with new driver It's Finn splitting them in P2. This got the Alphas back in the constructor fight. The first for races in DRS saw 4 different winners. Unluckily for everyone else, this was due to change. Kent Chaos had another DNF for the season, and Mercedes AMG Petronas were getting huge bills, unfortunately for them, but this was not the worst of it. Easy Life took P4, the best finishing position for him through the season. The weather was unpredictable and made for a very entertaining finish.
Miami was next up, and the newest track on the calendar, with many drivers unaware of the track. It saw every driver on the grid spin at least once a heat. We had the most drivers retired from the race so far in the season, with 6 crashing out. Smug Pete looked and got his strategy spot on and was certain for victory until the final car retiring. Spin brought out a safety car 3 laps from the end. Smug Pete had no choice but to switch to soft, which put him down into P8. The last laps of this race were incredible and saw Swanton, Smug, Joker, and King Kong going side by side round corners. Smug Pete 29 managed to make his way back up to second, but it felt like a loss as he was on for an emphatic win. King Kong tipped Joker to third, and Swanton got a second win and started a Seth Vettel streak. A huge shout out to Kent Chaos, who took his highest finish P5.
Race 6 was in Brazil, and Smug Git was set to miss the next 2 races, and this saw Alpine F1 team dominate the constructors, and Scuderia Ferrari reeled in on P2. A spin cost me a podium and saw me take P4. With King Kong taking another 3rd place, this became a regular spot for the Ferrari driver. Levi Hughes took the silver step and drove an incredible race, with MK5 finally getting that elusive first win. However, this would be the only win for the Mercman. This race saw 10 drivers crash out due to the new tire pressure regulation, causing dramas only hours before the race. This race will be forgotten by most, but was a dominant race for the Mercman. The Alpha Taurus completely dominated the remaining 5 races, showing pace but also great teamwork to secure the constructors later on, but the battle was now on between the Scuderia Ferrari, Williams Racing, and at Mercedes-AMG Petronas. Batman got lapped 3 times and spent more time changing his wings than he did racing on track. We had a wet race which showed signs of easing for the last 8 laps. Ken Chaos was becoming famous for late safety cars, and this race was no different. Everyone darted in for into tyres. Swanton's Alpha was strong on the blue compound tyre, so they stayed out. At the safety car restart, it was evident that they had made the right call. This gave them P1 and P2. Joker took everyone by surprise and finished third, 0.093 seconds behind P2, but the next few races wouldn't be so kind to him.
We traded cold and rain for hot and sunny in Saudi Arabia. Again, FIA regulations brought a new tire pressure rule out only hours before the race, and this saw many struggles. This was still a great race for DRS and was as tight as races come. The top 4 were covered by 3.073 seconds, top 3 by 0.621 seconds, and the top 2 by 0.381 seconds. Smug returned to the grid and looked to be taking glory with some awesome fights with Swanton and MK5, but again, a safety car cost him near the latter part of the race, led to him taking on the wall. Unfortunately, the wall won on this time. Levi crossed the line first, but had time penalties to be added with Swanton and MK5 battling hard for the last 3 laps right up until we crossed the finish line. Swanton took another victory and Levi took P2 with the Merc demoted to P4 because of further penalties and King Kong taking his favorite third.
Race 9 took us to Mexico with newcomer Scornful Griffin impressing on his debut and taking P4, the highest finish for HAAs that season, and getting some good points for Pivot over our newest and freshest driver on the grid. The top 6 were separated by 5.9 seconds. DRS was regularly having close races at the finish lines. King Kong again took the third step with MK5 crossing the line first, but a time penalty elevated Swanton to first place for a 3rd consecutive win and his 5th for the season. Levi had all but sealed the Pro AM title. Now, along with the constructors, Williams Racing and Scuderia Ferrari were taking this P2 battle to the wire, with Sainzy recording a P7 in the race but a P2 in the Pro AM. They hadn't given up hope just yet. Joker and TMKS Mexico Grand Prix summed up their season. Abu Dhabi saw us with 17 drivers, the most in one race so far this season. MK5 threw any chance at a pro title away with a retirement. Scuderia Ferrari gave Williams Racing serious hope as Sainzy could only manage P10 and King Kong rode his Ferrari off. Davey Walker held P6 with a great drive but couldn't pass 50 Gent, who put in a great performance for P5. A late safety car meant the last 2 laps gave 4 drivers the chance to earn a podium or a P1 spot. Levi, Smug, Joker and Swanton battled down the long straights and through sector 2 and 3, swapping positions at every corner. The racing, the respect and the corners were epic to be a part of. Levi took his first and a well-deserved victory, now challenging his Alpha team mate for the Drivers' Championship. Smug finally got to field the podium again with P2 and Swanton settled for P3. We travelled over to Monza for our final race of DRS Season 1. The home of the Ferrari, old friends were reunited signed. The sprint race was a huge success for many drivers who enjoyed an early battle and a preview of the race to come. Swanton qualified first and managed to take P1. On the sprint race, with newcomer Sign taking P2 and Scornful Griffin with P3, the Scuderia Ferrari had a sprint to forget with Sainzy crashing out and King Kong only able to take P12. The one saving grace they had was that Smug was on his own scoring points for Williams and able to take P7. The main race started well and quickly led to battles between the front 3. It looked as though Sign had Swanton at Della Roggia, but his wheels got on the grass and he had to make his race a recovery race from this point onwards, which was not possible. Scornful Griffin tried a late surge but had to settle for a very commanding P2, but driver of the day goes to King Kong, who secured Scuderia Ferrari, the constructors, from P12 to P3. His teammate Sainzy also took his best finish P5. Smug could only manage P6 and was followed by 50 Gent.